Hello, class. Welcome to this week. We're in week 6. Can you believe it? I know it's been a while, right? Well, as you know, um, this is going to be the class for 10/16/2021, and you will treat this class as normal, so still complete all assignments in this week. And I'm going to go ahead and go over our agenda items. So the beginning of this week, we will be transitioning into our information literacy and career research component. We kind of had a little snip of this when the librarian came over and did that presentation for us. So it's just a little bit of more of an extension rather in this class. So we're going to discuss chapter 9 and you're going to complete your career 360 profiles through our CAST lab resource links and work on library 101, which you already did, so you don't have to worry about that, and your career story activities, and discuss the upcoming exploration project. Okay, so I'm going to get into that as we discuss discuss further. Reading and viewing. So developing information literacy is going to be on chapter 9, pages 197 to 220. In your activities and your assignments, again, you're expected to do those there in your week 6 component. And the library research relay, that's the one I told you guys that the librarian came over and already did that with you, so don't worry about that. The career exploration project, that's gonna be coming up, like I said, not this week, but the following week. And I'm just gonna touch base on the general ideas that you could do, but this class, this component, is gonna better serve you so you could do the research based on that career projects. Because you need research, you're gonna have to include resources. This is that presentation I tell you I want you to dress up for your future career. This is it. And watch the CAS Lab videos 1 and 2. Okay? So developing information literacy and communication skills. So in this chapter, what do you think we're going to be working with? What comes to mind when you hear or think about the word literacy or communication skills? Well, we know literacy means um, it can mean many things, but when I think of literacy, I automatically think books, magazines, uh, technology, novels. I mean, I think anything that has to do with reading. Communication skills, how you deliver it, how you present it, how you write it. And so that's what we're going to be exploring in this project, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and turn over to chapter 9 in my book. So I hope you are turning on to chapter 9 yourselves. Okay, and so in the beginning of the chapter, it says that just over 50% of students report that during the current year, they have often or very often prepared 2 or more drafts of a paper or an assignment before turning it in. So that means that they just put a draft together and turn it in. That doesn't actually, it's not actually a good thing to do. Just drafting something and then turning it in because you didn't check your resources, you didn't check or you didn't double check if you cited information correctly, and that's very important to do, okay? So another thing is that 82% of employers report that they consider written communication skills very important in hiring new employees. So when employers are looking to hire you, they want to ensure you know how you communicate. They want to ensure you know how to write out information just in case the day of tomorrow you have to deliver a report or specify about an incident that happened. You'll be able to do that. They also say that knowledge is power, information is liberating, education is the promise, progress, in Every Society and Every Family by Kofi Annan. Okay, so again, in this chapter, you are to understand why your college library is essential and why you need to know how to access a librarian. Um, what kinds of writing did you do before coming to college? Did you put papers together? Did you just put notes together? Notes we discussed last week. Remember, there's many types of notes. Cornell notes. There are um, listing notes. I mean, it goes on and on, right? And another thing is, how do you feel about speaking in public? I mean, those who haven't taken speech yet, get ready. It would definitely be something to look forward to because part of your grade is getting in front of a class and speaking and delivering a speech or delivering a presentation. And so you are going to learn how to build those skills right here in this class. So join me in this presentation, and it looks like it skipped over already. So information literacy. Information literacy is the ability to find. You find information, you interpret information. Remember what the librarian said. This is basically needed whenever you put presentations together, whenever you put papers together, because you need credible sources to back up what you're trying to say, to back up the main points that you're trying to, deliberate and express. Okay, so we have three definitions here. Computer literacy, the ability to use electronic tools to conduct searches and communicate what you have found and analyzed. That's what computer literacy is. Media literacy is a bit different. It's the ability to think deeply about and analyze what you see and read, right? We have various sources of media. I mean, we have social media now, we have TV media, we have, again, just various sources of media that you could go in and rely on and get information from, right? News is the number one media that I know a lot of people get information from. Cultural literacy, it's knowing what has gone and in what will be going on in society. So that's just what cultural, literacy is. Okay, moving on. Information literacy is learning to be informative, to be literate, right? Knowing how to find that information you need whenever you're looking for something, when you're reading for something, right? You have to ask good questions. You have to learn how to search those information systems. For instance, remember when the librarian was referencing the EBSCO host and then Google research, he said use very specific words to find what you're looking for. Because if you put whole sentences in, you're probably not going to find what you need. You're probably going to find an idea of it or a gist of it, but you're not going to find everything you need, okay? So learn how to interpret the information you find. What does that information mean? Can those sources be trusted? A lot of times, I don't know if you've heard in the past, but they say that Wikipedia is not one of those best resources people could use to find information because people go in there and update it and change it. So you want information to be concrete. You want information to come from good sources. And so those are some of the sources that were shared with you from the librarian in his presentation. Okay, so do you have a purpose for collecting the information? And then what are you going to do with it? So for instance, when you're doing your research for your career, the information you're finding, it's about the career you want to pursue in the future. And you're going to present that information to a set of people, to a class, to other peers. And you're going to tell them, you're going to inform them about what is beneficial in your career, why you want to pursue it, what is there growing, is there growth in there, or why is it that you're so interested in? So all those ideas, you have to back them up with facts. Is it because they're going to pay high, or it's just there's going to be more jobs available for it in the future? I mean, you could go on and on as to why you want that career, correct? So decide how you put those findings in, excuse me, appropriate formats. Okay, if it's going to be a presentation, you need to make sure that you're putting in a PowerPoint and that you're listing the references in the PowerPoint. If you're doing a paper, same thing. You need to know how to format the paper, paragraph by paragraph, intro, body, 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 conclusion, right? That's just the gist of how to put a paper together. But then again, you also have to ensure you are putting sources on there. It's not just, I can't trust your word, like, oh, a doctor makes over 100,000 annually. Well, how do I know that? Can you prove it? So that's why we need the information to be factual and backed up, okay? So it's your turn to discuss it. Take about 5 minutes. Write somewhere on your notebook. How does this information literacy contribute to people's success today in the world? Remember what we talked about in the beginning of the presentation. We discussed how there's an 82% of employers who look for in the employee if they have good literacy skills, if they have good presentation skills, because you want to ensure that person you're hiring knows how to deliver information, knows how to express information, knows how to look for information. So take 5 minutes and write somewhere, how does the information literacy contribute to people's success in the world today? Okay? Research what it is and what it isn't, right? So research is basically collecting and analyzing information, okay? You have to choose a topic. So in this case, it's going to be your career. You have to search for the information in several credible sources, not Wikipedia or any just random website. You have to evaluate, analyze, and interpret the information, evaluating the source. Is this a good source to find information about my future career? Can I analyze it? Can I break it down? Can I interpret what the information that they have presented? Do I know what it means? Okay, you have to select and organize your sources you wish to keep. So a trick I do is I look up all the sources I think I want to use. I put them in a Google Docs, and I kind of just list it all out right first. But as I go through the topic that I want to talk about, I go and eliminate all the other sources I'm not going to really use or they don't pertain to my topic. But you at least have your list of sources and you have a reference. You have a list that you could look back to so you could, write that paper or make that presentation more easier for you. You have your resources in one place, okay? When you write a paper, prepare for presentations, again, you need to cite those sources because I can't take your word for it. You need to ensure you are putting this information, you're citing the information, you're telling me where you received this information from. Okay, and so you draw conclusions and submit the results. Choosing and narrowing and researching a topic. So I know this could be quite challenging. Consider what you already know about the subject though first. Okay, doctors make a lot of money. Okay, conduct a Google search with those keywords. Then learn a little bit more about your topic, which will help you narrow your focus down. Okay, what kind of doctor? Heart surgeon, um, um, well, that would be a cardiologist, or do you need to look up how much an eye doctor does, how much a dentist makes, how much a pediatrician makes, so there's different kinds of doctors, right? So I'm guessing there's different types of salaries, and they do different types of things, and they focus in types of things. So you have to choose the type of doctor, so you're narrowing your subject down, okay? So you go beyond the Google search. After you find your subtopic you like to research, consult other sources. Remember those credible sources on the EBSCO host or wherever the librarians show you to, look for on your My Lone Star account. But remember, you have access to him. You have his email, so you could contact him, okay, as well. Using the library, okay, the advantages of using a library are many, okay? You have books, journals, and variety of sources that are not available on, in person, but they're available electronically. Use library as a learning commons. Use the interlibrary loan. That's a tool where you're able to find sources through other campuses. So maybe North Harris doesn't have it, but maybe Tomball's campus has it, or maybe UH Library has it. And so that's the library interloan. Use the library's homepage. I cannot stress this enough. The library's homepage is your gateway to find these services, okay? And then if you can't keep the information you need after 10 minutes, just ask a librarian for help. They'll be able to help you do that research. So it's your turn to work by yourselves on a piece of paper, the same paper you're using. Answer this question. Is the library a necessary resource for learning in college? Yes or no? Why or why not? So if it is yes, put why. If it is no, why not? Okay? Okay, these are common research sources, okay? Information timeline. Your source could be coming from newspapers. It could be now they're online or they could be printed, okay? Um, this is a primary source because it comes from a first-hand discussion of a current event. That means like if somebody could attest to that information happening, right? Magazines, again, they're in print and they're online, okay? They're probably monthly, bi-weekly, yearly. And so this is an analysis by a journalist or a reporter of an event or weeks that occurred. They're usually longer articles in the newspapers, right? But nevertheless, this is another one that you could use, magazines. Scholarly articles. So basically, these are just in-depth analysis of credible professionals who put information about certain topics, books the same way. Books are basically comprehensive. They have a lot of broad information about the topic, and so if you could find something that is in relation to your topic, then you could use it and reference them. But these are your common resources that you could use in when doing your papers or doing your presentations. Okay. So evaluating sources, consider three factors to think about: the usefulness of the information, the relevance of the information, and the authority and bias of the information. Remember the librarian talked about there's one source that it looked like it might be credible, but it really wasn't credible because it's really, not up to date. The information was really no longer used. Those are the things you look for whenever you're looking for your sources. The relevance, is it introductory? Is it comprehensive? Is it current? That's really important. Is it current? Can you conclude anything from it? What are you drawing back? What type of information are you drawing back? Is it concrete? Is it gibberish? Is it just like their opinion about it? That's something that you need to look at, okay? Authority, it's what was created by someone qualified to write this specific subject, okay? This is anybody like your doctors, anybody who's in the education world, and they're professors, they're able to write papers too. So That's basically what the story means. Like, who wrote it? Was it someone in those professional sessions that wrote it? I mean, can they talk about it? Can they speak about it? Type deal. Okay. Evaluating sources still. So bias, how personal beliefs affect the way information is presented. This means that they overly have positive language or harsh language. I mean, it just rather it depends. Hints of personal agenda. I mean, this is very biased, right? Like, oh, it's my opinion. I believe, I think. And so that's something to look for whenever you're looking at sources, because if it's biased and you're really trying to argue the opposite, then you're really not going to be able to use that source because it's going to go against everything you're trying to say. So that's another thing to consider. Okay, so your turn to discuss it. Consider websites, newspapers, or TV networks that might be biased. Um, and why do you consider them biased? So on that same sheet of paper, go ahead and write down what websites or newspapers or networks that you might find biased. And why do you consider them biased? What is it in it for them all the time? Why do they always talk about this? Why do they always talk about that? Okay, so I don't know. Those those are some of the things that we will be discussing in class. I think this is a really fun conversation, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say about those biased websites, newspapers, and TV networks. So, using your research and writing, okay, so summarizing sometimes is just not enough. You should analyze the information and use that analysis to form your own ideas, okay? You need to consider how facts, opinions, and details are different from sources and or how they relate to one another. Because although there might be two different subjects, somehow in the education world, you see how ideas intercorrelate and they coincide with each other rather. And so that's something just very important to, think about and just kind of, let it sink and then consider, okay, so what can I take away from this, right? Synthesize the information and the ideas. Put together parts of ideas to create a whole result. And this could be done in various ways, again, with various topics. So it's really up to you how you do that. The writing process. So, as you know, if you haven't learned it yet, sure in high school or somewhere down your life, they have maybe taught you how to put a paper together, but it's pre-writing, right? You have to maybe just jot down the ideas, the topics that you want to talk about, what you know about it off the top of your head. And then drafting, you're just forming a thesis statement, you're writing your main ideas, the key points you want to discuss in this paper. Create an outline, okay? Remember what I said, intro, body one, body two, body three, conclusion. Always have a beginning and an end in the middle, right? Those are really, really important. It's like a hamburger, right? You wouldn't eat a hamburger with one bun. You would have the bun, the meat, and then the other bun at the bottom. Just exactly the same. Okay, so consider writing a draft first, okay, of what it might look like. Read it to somebody and then like, hey, what do you think I'm missing, right? What do you think I need to add to this? And then go from there. Revising. Do your best at making a good piece of writing. Great. Don't say, okay, I'm done, and then don't even look at it for days. And then when it's time to turn it in, you're in trouble because you're like, oh, I didn't look over it, right? So you need to do that as well. We're continuing. You have to know who your audience is. So the project, the career project, your audience is going to be your classmates. So you want to be make sure you relate all information possible about that career subject. So they could maybe they have interest in that career. So you never know. You may learn something from your peers. Okay, and the importance of the time in the writing. Okay, allocate enough time to write it. Don't wait your last minute to put your paper together, presentation together, because then it's just gonna kind of feel like a rush effect, and you don't want that. Okay, ask instructor for clarifications or an example. Seek help from a librarian or a writing center. Narrow your topic down. You know, if you have a big, broad subject, you're talking about doctors, but you want to narrow it down to cardiologists, to eye surgeons. I mean, you get it. Uh, do so, right? Narrow down the concept. Balancing other assignments and commitments. You might have another class. You might just want to go ahead and, I don't know, maybe do your draft on Monday, and then your main paper on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then your final on Friday. See, break it down by days. And then dealing with technology problems, that's another thing. If you're going to do a presentation, are you sure it's saved? Are you sure all the transitions, all those pictures are on there? You need to make sure that your presentation, if it's on PowerPoint, that is working, that is downloading, that you are able to see information clearly. I mean, the list goes on and on. The point is for you to double check your work, whether you're writing the paper on the career or you're presenting on the career. Okay? And are your working together turns? So on that same sheet of paper you've been using, think briefly about the writing process. Share with somebody in your household, or just share with yourself. Do you use the same process when you write, the writing process? If not, what can you learn from a different writing process? How is it that they put their ideas together so they could finally make the final piece? Citing your sources. Remember, citing is always important. You need to complete a complete citation. Okay, you need to give credit to who it's owed, right? If you're using somebody else's words, make sure you're quoting, citing name, page number, date, all that good stuff. For this paper or presentation, you're going to be using MLA format. So look up YouTube videos on how to MLA format a paper, okay? Use some body's idea. You can't just literally copy a quote and paste it, okay, without citing somebody's information, because then that will be plagiarism, and that's just really, really bad. Um, that's just bad, right? Plagiarism, presenting somebody else's works and ideas in your own, it's not the way to go. Okay, instructors will check the sources, and I will check the sources. We have a tool called plagiarism. So I'm gonna run your presentations and papers to see if you guys have plagiarized. So don't do it, okay? Just avoid the plagiarism. You could write. I trust that you know how to write and you know how to put information together. Okay, using your research and your presentations. Okay, clarify your objective, understand your audience. Remember, your audience are your peers, they have no clue about the career you want to do in the future. Organize your presentations, choose appropriate visuals. If you're going to do a presentation on PowerPoint, don't bore me with long paragraphs. Make sure the information is accurate and short to the point. Prepare your notes. Practice your delivery, pay attention, choice, pronunciation. Does it fit appropriately to the topic? Does it not? Request feedback. Have another peer look at your presentation and say, hey, oh yeah, this doesn't really work, or yeah, not, don't do this. Okay, that's just key. It's key for any presentation. And your turn to discuss it now. So on that same sheet of paper, go ahead and tell me, do you enjoy public speaking? Okay. Are you anxious? Do you feel confident? Do you feel like you're going to be good at presenting your information? Okay. What do you do to be more comfortable? I mean, do you make breathing exercises so you could be able to present, or do you practice in front of a mirror so you could deliver this information? I mean, the list could go on and on, but what do you do? I'm interested to find out. And tech tips, say yes to Twitter. So this is the last slide, and it just talks about use Twitter to gather information, share interest, and stay connected. So Twitter is just a social media tool that a lot of people in education follow. They follow their leaders, they follow their schools, and it's just really a place where information is just always trending. Job hunting, follow your organizations you're interested. I know LinkedIn is it's a really good one to follow and use if you are interested in looking for organizations. And community involvement, of course. Take part in global conversations. Look at Twitter and see what's going on in the world. Okay, so that is it for today's class. Okay, make sure you do all the assignments in this week. And remember, they are due on the 22nd. Yes, on the 22nd. And we will meet again on October the 23rd. Let me know if you have any questions about really anything, okay? I'm gonna explain a little bit more in detail what I'm looking for your presentations, but at least you know now that I want you to start gathering your information, your sources, look up all the stuff that has to do with your career so we could go ahead and discuss it next time we meet. Okay, have a good day. Bye.